This will be a day long remembered. Now I am the master.
Welcome to another episode of Legends and Theories. And welcome to another review of Darknest 3: The Swarm War. This is the third and final book in the trilogy, if you can figure that out by this being book 3 and the fact that this is a trilogy. But just going into this one, this was easily the best. And one thing I forgot to mention with Darknest 2 is just a little bit more reveals of everything that happens in my favorite storyline in this, the one of Luke and Mara really discovering everything that happened with Padme, although he's mainly with Han in this part, and discovers a lot of it, but doesn't discover the big stuff, which is about his mother specifically. And that one he sees a lot of stuff from Order 66 and official confirmation that Padme is his mother. But in this one, we get the best part of that. We get him just having to watch alongside Jacen to kind of tease towards his fall towards the dark side. We see that Luke is watching first the scene where Anakin warns Padme to go and basically separate himself from the Senate and that he's going to Mustafar. And in this, we see that Luke and Mara are both disturbed by this and they see the dark undercurrent of what exactly Anakin is saying. Meanwhile, Jacen, who is thinking a lot more like his grandfather at this point, in terms of just wanting to protect his daughter, doesn't really see too much of a problem with it and ultimately thinks that Anakin is doing the right thing here to warn his wife, and then this just gets more and more intense as he sees the next part, which is something that Luke forces out of R2 to see what happened to his mother. And we get to see him going and watching just the absolutely brutal scene of Anakin turning on Padme and going to try and kill Obi-Wan. Of course, he only sees the beginning of that fight because R2's out of range for most of it, so he doesn't see specifically how his father was dismembered and burned alive, but he still sees the worst parts of it. And he has to live with those fears of his father just brutally killing his mother until he's eventually convinced by Jacen and Mara to go and see the end of Padme's life, which R2 does want to show him after being so unwilling to show him everything else because he knows it would hurt Luke more to think of his father as the person who killed his mother, and then for Luke to see, well, one, his and Leia's birth, but also for him to go and just see what actually happened and him to see how his mother, like him, knew there was still good in Anakin Skywalker, and his father didn't kill his mother in a fit of rage. And honestly, this was all really interesting. Jacen sees these videos also, and even he is, even though he's on his way to becoming Darth Kaidos, is still just disgusted by what Anakin does when he chokes Padme and really can't figure out how he went so wrong, while Luke is very clearly seeing how it went wrong with the dark side being very addicting. And the other thing I like about this is how they realize that Roger's teachings were flawed and was going to lead to more and more Jedi falling to the dark side. But that's it for the more interesting part of it, where it's connecting into the prequels and just having Luke discover all of these just horrible things about his father and just how bad of a man he was when he fell to the dark side, but also just see how his mother was and what happened to her. So, looking into this now, I think that this rest of the novel is really solid. The resolution of the conflict is it's really good, where Luke is able to go and he's able to take out the Dark Nest, but also goes to Raynor Thal and is able to convince him that him staying with the Killiks is just going to cause more wars, and for the Chiss to eventually attempt a genocide on them, and that really there's no way for them to do it because if the Killiks try to strike back doing a genocide of their own, the Jedi would go to stop them like they would go to stop the Chiss. So ultimately, it does work out really well. I do like the ending of the conflict, and really just all the characters are solid in this. Jaina has a great time fighting alongside the Killiks and sort of being more and more drawn in, although she is just sort of taken out towards the end after being betrayed by Lumi Plo, who is the Dark Nest Queen, and ultimately I think that just with this story, it was a really solid story overall, and like the conflict was definitely shown it could be something that would have caused galactic destruction if it wasn't prevented early on enough, and thankfully they were able to do that. And it does make sense too why in Fate of the Jedi, when Raynar is returning to the Killiks and they begin to take him over again, why it's just such a significant threat and why it needs to be prevented. But yeah, honestly, I'm really enjoyed this last one. I think that each book in this trilogy gets better and better, with 3 being a really entertaining book overall. I managed to finish it in just about a week because I had a bunch of time to read. I also took a few, not super long card trips, but like 20-30 minute drives that I was able to go and read through a good amount of this book in. And yeah, honestly, I'm really excited for Legacy of the Force. I do have to, as I mentioned in that previous video, go and read through Splinter of the Mind's Eye because it's part of a Star Wars book club I'm in right now. And I'm really enjoying that. I'm already like a third of the way through of it. Not third, sorry, a fourth of the way through because it's getting pretty close to a third also, but I literally just like hit the fourth point a few hours ago. So yeah, you expect a review on that probably by the end of next week since in basically 2 reading sessions I finished like a quarter of the book. And those are like 2 15-minute sessions. So yeah, honestly, I want to know what you think. Please let me know in the comments. And I'll see you on the next episode of Legends and Theories. Thank you for watching this episode of Legends and Theories. Please subscribe, like the video, share the video, leave a comment, check out the video on screen, and may the Force be with you.